Okay, this is Moshe coming to you from Israel in the Galilee on the 14th of, no, the 18th of February. It's 10:15 roughly in the morning here. It's 59 degrees, high of 67. It'll be nice. I'm dreading their prediction of a 3-day storm starting Thursday. That's going to be hard on me. But what am I going to do? I'm going to go in the live stream, make sure we got a live stream and a chat, and then I'll put my posts up and we'll get started. We're going to cover a lot of news events today, too. I'm going to go in the live stream. I'm not going to talk too much while I put my posts up, but we're still waiting for people to come in, so no big deal. And let me get my email up and we'll get started. Got a lot of prayer requests today. Kind of not all that typical either, but that's fine. Almost there. All right. And okay. We're probably not going to have a lot of people today because I don't want to hear anything resembling the Bible truths about the daughter of Babylon, the USA. So this is to be expected. But that's what the Lord was showing me, I believe, to do today. So that's what I'm doing. I'm going to show what Trump's doing with the cartels and what the likely outcome is going to be, and build on that. Okay, so I'm going to do some praise. There is no God like Jehovah. 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 There is no Messiah like Yeshua. 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 All right, so let's go through some of the news before we get into the main story here, or the main theme of the broadcast: the drug cartels and Trump's war against them. Lebanon. We did leave Lebanon yesterday, as per we said we would, but we did leave 5 military outposts that we built in Lebanon that we feel would be sufficient to protect us. Trump was a little bit peeved about this because the Lebanese government never fulfilled its obligations. He was mad at Lebanon. Okay? They never fulfilled their obligations. They're funeraling or doing a funeral for Nasrallah, or they did it in the last day or two. They built him a big shrine. And people from 23 countries came to visit it. Now, this man you could call the Jewish butcher, the butcher of Jews of Lebanon. And 23 countries came to pay their respects and visit his tomb. Does that tell you something? Okay. So the Lebanese army was supposed to occupy positions in South Lebanon, south of the Litani River to the Israeli border, roughly 17, 18 miles, depending where in the river you are. And they were supposed to make sure there was no Hezbollah there and no weapons there, and they failed miserably. They maybe succeeded at most 20, 25%, probably 10%. So they failed. Now, I believe we're going to see the Lebanese army unite with Hezbollah against Israel, which would be the case for Lebanon to get a very severe thumping, which we read about in prophecy. They get hit very hard. If it was just the Hezbollah and the people innocently and the government innocently was not interested in Hezbollah and were just really afraid of them, didn't want to attack them, and that would be one matter, but they're going to join Hezbollah, I believe. Trump's remedy for this was as follows. He says, if they don't, he did this very recently, he said, they don't abide by the terms of this ceasefire, we're going to get the UN troops to go into Lebanon and enforce it. Now, this is showing me that either Trump's deteriorating or he's just making empty threats or something's wrong. Maybe he has a strategy where he's trying to bluff people. I don't know. First of all, the UN troops are already there, and they proved worthless for many, many, many years. Completely worthless. Okay? And Trump goes to the UN and says, well, we need to do something about this. The UN troops aren't working. We need more or something like that. What happens? It has to be done in the Security Council because you're telling the UN to take action, not just make policy statements. So China and Russia will veto it. It's not going to go anywhere. Does Trump know this? Of course. Is Trump planning on going through the motions knowing he's going to fail? Probably. Why? Likely because a lot of nations are going to make a stink about Israel keeping their posts there, so he's going to put it on them. Well, we asked for UN support, and it got vetoed, so what do you want me to do? Tell them they should just get attacked again? This is what the direction is going, but that doesn't solve it. You need to have a solution for this. And there's no solution with anything to do with the UN. Okay. The B-52 bombers, by the way, which came with 4 other jets, they might have been refueling tankers, landed in Qatar. Qatar is a jackass country. It wants to be friends with America and enemies of Israel. And they support Hamas and Hezbollah totally. So they're just a piece of garbage. And I don't know why Trump uses the base there. It's ridiculous, It's an oil-producing Arab country. I don't use Palestinian term. I don't like using it. They're Arabs, is what they are. So the situation in Lebanon is kind of weird. The government of Lebanon said they're not going to go to war against Israel. They're going to use diplomatic solutions to get them out of there. And Hezbollah said if we didn't leave as of yesterday, they were going to, basically attack us. And we didn't leave. We did some of the things, but that's it. The people were allowed to return back to their houses, villages, and homes in South Lebanon yesterday. So this situation is not over, obviously, And we'll keep watching it, and we know Lebanon gets it in the coming days in the prophecies. So this is all very consistent. Let me take care of the prayer requests. There's a bunch today, and some are not exactly usual, so let me go through them. EV, Echo Victor, EV, Echo Victor, EV. Guidance and help with living situation, and this person needs a job. So for EV, Echo Victor, guidance and help with the living situation, and this person needs a job. So pray they get a job. Next. JG, Juliet Golf, JG, Juliet Golf, JG, and AC, Alpha Charlie, and AC, Alpha Charlie. So it's JG and AC. Need a prayer for financial help, peace, and joy for JG and AC. Next. JG, Juliet Golf, JG, Juliet Golf. Success on the job, and the Lord shows JG how to prosper in the Lord's way. So for JG, Juliet Golf, success on the job, and the Lord shows JG how to prosper in the Lord's way. Next, MP, Mike Papa, MP, Mike Papa, MP. The Lord, that the prayer is that the Lord would enable friendship with the brother. So MP, Mike Papa, the prayer is the Lord would enable friendship with the brother. Next is slightly unusual, but I'll explain. It's no big deal. There's three individuals, three men with the same initials, MP, Mike Papa, MP, Mike Papa. So it's three men with the same initials, MP, toss. Then we have a toss request for JD, Juliet Delta. JD, Juliet Delta, toss request. Okay? All right, let me remove these things. All right. Witkoff, the Middle East envoy of Trump, says he wants, this is a little twist to the Gaza settlement. He wants Hamas out of Gaza, yet he wants to continue phase 2 of the ceasefire to get the hostages back. He's talking like we leave no man behind with no one behind. Are we being set up again? Maybe not. Probably not. I don't know. I think they're sincere. So the Israeli public has a strong desire to get the hostages back, but the disconnect there is that Hamas has nothing to barter with if there's no hostages. They're never going to give them all back. They'll drag this out for 50 years if they can. And the people have not accepted that. They're giving us a bunch of dead bodies, I don't know, I think 4 or something like that on Thursday this week. And that's going to cause more negative sentiment towards them in Israel. The Egypt proposal for Gaza is to create secure areas within Gaza for the Arabs to live during the reconstruction of Gaza. And this leaves the terrorists, Hamas, and the other groups to be operating in Gaza continually. So Egypt is proposing a completely unacceptable solution to Trump and Netanyahu, that is, but the fact that they're doing it is pretty negative. Okay? How the heck do you create a secure area in Gaza anyway? What are you talking about? How? I don't know how. With Hamas running around. Hamas will just shake down and rip off and scam the reconstruction workers, you know. They'll make them give kickbacks. The companies will have to kick back to Hamas, so they'll kill them and burn their equipment and run them out. It's so stupid. The latest version I'm hearing is, like from Witkoff and others, is that Hamas has to leave. The answer to Gaza, to make the international world comfortable, is evolving into all of Hamas has to get out of Gaza. All of them. Now, we got 20,000-ish. That means all their executives, their officers, and their infantrymen, you know, their basic soldiers, all of them got to leave. And of course, they're going to have to leave. They'll be searched and there'll be no weapons going, and then the rest of the weapons will be destroyed or confiscated. So, how do you make this work? I have no idea. Hamas is going to adamantly laugh it off and say no. You see, if they get Hamas out of there, they can keep the population of Arabs in Gaza. Okay? Without a lot of difficulty, because as soon as Hamas is gone, and PIJ and there's another one, Israel soldiers will go in there and really destroy the tunnels, look for weapons and get rid of them. And when you read between the lines, which they're not telling you, read between the lines, if Hamas is leaving, they're going to turn all the hostages over as part of it. Obviously, how are you going to have hostages there? What are they going to do? Tell the public, well, the hostages will be in the custody of the Gazan civilian population. Well, that converts them into military operatives or terrorists, and that doesn't fly. They can't do that. So it mandates all the hostages get returned. Now, the Hamas people would absolutely choose the death of 2 million Gazans before they leave. I tell you this with the utmost sincerity and reality, that they would have no problem 2 million Gazans die to keep them there. I promise you that's their mindset, okay? This is a death cult. And they would do it. And I'm not sure the Americans fully understand this, but maybe they do. Of course, killing 2 million people could take a year. I mean, they're not going to go strafe them with Apache helicopters and F-16s, you know. So they're not going to kill the people. Others will, you know, but they don't care. So this scenario from Witkoff is so stupid on a 10 scale, 10 being the stupidest, it's a 9. What would be stupider is telling Hamas to commit harikari and giving them samurai swords and white clothes to wear and have a nice ceremony while they cut their guts out. That would be one of the only things I could think is stupider, you know. So the logic is Western logic, not Middle East logic. Well, if we give them this parachute, they get to live. Well, you see, the disconnect here is they don't care. If they stay in Gaza, great, they're pushing the war, they're having a victory, they're still there. If they're dead, they're martyrs in heaven and paradise with their 70 virgins. Now, the leaders of Hamas are straight up Satan bots, and they don't believe this Muslim stuff. That's for their followers. They don't buy into it. They're slinging lies, and they know it. So they might not want to die. But that comes to targeted assassinations, and that's difficult and takes a long time. So, on the theoretical side, if we were in a Harvard classroom talking about political science, people would think this makes sense. Oh, we give the Hamas a chance to live in another country, and they will give up and just leave. They don't have to go to jail, they don't lose their money, and they don't die. But it's idiotic that people that think that don't understand. Okay? It's the chances of Hamas agreeing to it, I would say, are zero. Where would they go? Turkey might take them. It's only 20,000 or so. They might do it. Iran might take them. Russia never. Egypt never. Jordan never. Saudi Arabia never. I don't know where we would put him. I have no idea. He wouldn't take him to America. So problem two is, where do you put him? And problem two is, of course, a massive problem. But there's no point in talking about it because we're never going to get that far with this. So what is Witkoff really up to? Is he that stupid and he thinks Hamas will go for this? I think he's just putting a counter argument up to Egypt and the other Arab states that are coming up with proposals. Yeah, okay, we'll leave the people there. That means Trump gives up on his Gaza resort plan, which I'm not so sure he wants to do. But how could Trump play that? Well, first you get Hamas out, and then you leave the people in Gaza and you try to do the reconstruction, and you see how harsh it is on the people with the living conditions, and then you start up again with getting them out. That would probably be Trump's plan, but the way this thing is going is going to be a confrontation between the United Arab League, which I think is 53 or 56 countries, and they're all going to want to keep everybody in Gaza, and Trump doesn't want to. So it doesn't look money. It doesn't look good. Katz, one of the ministers in Israel, is coming up with a plan where they're going to pay money to the Gazans to leave willfully. And he says we could transport them by ground, sea, or air to a third country. With Hamas still there, it's going to be hard for them to get out without getting shot. And if they go and they leave their relatives there, their relatives might get tortured and shot by Hamas, maybe. I don't know. I think what Katz has in mind is giving them, transportation. That's about it. I don't think he's talking giving them $25,000 or $50,000 or anything like that. Hamas would say give everybody $300,000 if they leave, something like that, which is a joke. There might be, according to Bible prophecy, this isn't going to happen, but there might be, a few thousand that leave or some small amount. I don't know. It's not going to be a big deal. The nations, the Arab nations, are not going to get upset at all if Israel wants to pay them to leave. They'll allow that. That doesn't mean they're going to take them in, but they're not going to balk about that. We found out Turkey was helping Iran smuggle money into Lebanon for the terrorists using civilian planes. So Turkey is starting to get a little bit proactive against us. Not much. They were trying to conceal what they did. In a recent poll of 30,000 people in Israel, 62% are opposed to going into phase two of the deal with Gaza. So I'm not sure. There's another poll that indicates opposite. So you can't listen to these polls. They can corrupt them. I think when the dead bodies show up on Thursday, there's going to be significant resentment towards Gaza. Oh, pray for the believers in Ireland to have their electricity turned on or not get turned off or get disconnected. I was reading something happened over there with power outages for a while, like 2 weeks. I'm not sure if it's over or not, but let's pray for the true believers in Ireland that they have electricity, and if they've been disconnected, it comes on rapidly. We have followers there to the channel. So. One of the founding leaders of Hamas in Gaza, this character is apparently still in Gaza, told Hamas that Israel is not going to accept anything but the deportation of the Hamas leaders and their soldiers. So even he's telling them that. That doesn't mean he's telling them to do it. He's telling them that's what the bottom line is, and probably right. As you know, I don't cover the Ukraine-Russia war in detail like some channels do. Oh, Russia sent 4 missiles in and Ukraine sent 16 drones here. Because this war is not going to trigger the Bible prophecy events. It's all about Israel. So I focus on Israel, not the Ukraine-Russia war. I do deal with it at times, but I don't make a big deal out of it. There was an Orthodox rabbi from the Lithuanian side who told his followers to withdraw from all Zionist institutions in Israel, whatever that means. It could mean governments, private entities, don't know. He's basically supporting the idea of false Israel now, and Israel shouldn't be expanding because it's not true Israel, and they're going to get themselves hurt in wars. This kind of thing. This is nonsense. Their position is that Israel's not getting any land back until Messiah shows up. Now, they don't teach, I'm sure they're well aware, but they don't teach the everlasting life with the appearing of the Son as Son of Man. They know who the Son of Man is, of course, who he really is, but they won't teach it. They're Satan bots. And they don't formulate New Jerusalem into their plans, nor the millennium really. They don't have any correct teaching on Messiah, or even close of distance. They deny Yeshua completely. Their calendar's 250 years off. It's just, you you could spend a lot of time analyzing them, but to what avail? I mean, why bother? Must be 30, 40 years ago I started reading the Talmud. I don't know if I ever finished the whole thing. I got through a lot of it, and it's just nonsense. I mean, it makes no sense. It's contradictory. It's vague. It's weird. No interest in it. Um, it looks like Trump with the phase two and Netanyahu are going to keep pushing for everybody to get out of Gaza. But I don't know what's going to happen. That's not going to happen. It's not in prophecy. It might get to the point where Hamas is told, if you don't want to leave, that's fine. We'll kill you. You know? And then Israel goes to work. I don't know what they're going to do. But they're not going to get what they want out of Hamas. That is pretty for sure. It ain't going to happen. And, just evicting the members of the Hamas military is unlikely to result in anything, of a meaningful nature. Okay. Trump is thinking a lot now about attacking Iran. One reason is if Iran gets attacked, they're going to do nothing about it, likely, in the beginning. And it's going to break the spirit of Yemen, the Houthis, the Hamas in Gaza, and the Hezbollah in Lebanon, and the various militants in Iraq that support Iran. And that will make moving forward better. And Trump has to do something about Iran because they've insulted him time in and time again, by upping their uranium production 7 times, which they did the other day. Well, that's too much for Trump. His credibility right now is that he's worthless in his threats. Okay, no, the nations in the world are not seeing him as delivering on his threats. Okay, he's coming off as just making empty threats like the Iranians do. And the people aren't taking him with any sincerity. And this makes it very difficult for Trump to accomplish much on the international scene. He can and is doing a good job in terms of making changes in America. Not any moral changes of any substance, just economic ones. That's all he's accomplishing. The mudslides in California are creating more problems. A bunch of people died, I think 9 in the mudslides. And the bad weather that they've had and they're going to have has been causing them problems. And earthquakes are on the rise. So the storms and bad weather, we could call it the continuing whirlwind of the Lord, because the whirlwind word means tempest or storm. And the earthquakes is, of course, a prophecy in Matthew 24, Luke 21, Mark 13, up upshooting of earthquakes. In Luke, it says great earthquakes in diverse places. So the actual strength of the earthquakes has been, we've been getting more strong earthquakes more frequently than I can recall in many years. Now we're up to the count on airplanes crashing on runways, colliding, and otherwise. We have 8 such weird plane crashes in less than a month. So we could believe in coincidence, or we could get real and say somebody's doing something. I don't know what they're doing. There probably is some level of investigation going on, and it will enhance or increase, because you have to understand that there's a point in time, I don't know where that point is, but where people, a certain percentage of people aren't going to want to fly on planes anymore. Now, you're probably going to get maybe, 15, 20, 30%. But if the crashes keep happening, it'll be 40, 50% aren't going to want to fly anymore. They'll take trains and drive. So this is a problem brewing. I don't know when people are going to hit that level, but I would say the American public at this point is just, marginally aware. They know something's going on, but they're not listening to conspiracy theories yet or anything like that, but they soon will. I would say get another 3 crashes, it should do it. All right, let's look at the live stream and see what I got to get rid of all the nasty people that come in. Oh, we don't have them today. All right. So let's move on to the drug cartel situation in Mexico. Let me read you the prophecies. I'll read 3 out of Jeremiah 51, 50 and 51. And then from there we'll go into building on it, okay? All right. There may be another one or so in here somewhere, I'm not sure. But I think with the 3, we're going to get the bulk of it. There's not going to be much else that we need to cover. I think I might have them all. I don't know. If I miss them, it'd be maybe 1 or 2, but they're not going to show much that's different. So we can get it done this way. Jeremiah 51, verse 58. Now, I assume you understand America's the daughter of Babylon. If you don't, that's a Bible study that's 1 million people have done on the internet. You can get it from anybody. I have them in my YouTube channel. Just go to the video, the live section, not the videos, the live, and scroll around, and you'll find a few times I covered the daughter of Babylon being America. Okay. Verse 58, Jeremiah 51. Thus saith Jehovah of hosts, the broad walls. Now, let's take a look at the word broad. It's rachav. It's the meaning of the word, which is Strong's number 7342. It means roomy in English, or every direction, literally, figuratively, broad, large, wide. Okay, so it doesn't necessarily mean wide, because America's walls are not wide, but they're long. There's 2,000 miles plus, I think. And Trump's building them as we talk. He's building them all the time now. He's expanding them. So the long walls would fit into this description. Okay, so just to keep you on track. Thus saith Jehovah of hosts, the broad walls of Babel shall be utterly broken. Now, the word is made bare, stripped, break. Okay. So they're gone. The other word they use in the Hebrew is, well, we got a rar, and the other word is 6209. No, it's what the heck's going on here? Wait, I got to study the Hebrew for a second. It's the same word, a rah, so it means really broken, super duper broken, extremely or utterly broken. And her high gates, the word for high is gavta, yeah, exalted or high, could mean exalted. Gates is sha'ar, an entrance or a gate, so it could be the entrances to America. That's where the immigration people are, okay? They have little houses and stuff, right? Shall be, let me see how Strong's uses the word gates, just to double check ourselves. An opening, a door, a gate, it could mean a port, even mean a city. So it's these installations that ICE has on the wall. That's what it is. The word high is, according to Strong's, it would mean haughty, powerful, proud. It could mean, all of that stuff. So it could be an emotional type word like proud or stuck up, or it can mean high, like a high-rise tower, shall be burned, and that word appears to be kindled, really burned, with fire, and that word should be esh, which is fire. And the people, means people shall labor in vain, and the folk in the fire, and they shall be weary. Okay, let's check the words here. Labor in vain. Let's check the in vain. Greek. It really means worthless. So their labor is worthless. They're keep building houses and doing things, and it's all going to get burned up. Okay. And the folk, that's not a word that we would really translate that way. People, I guess it's more like the people. I would think it's more of a word like people. You could say folk. What's the difference, Shall labor in vain or worthlessly, and the folk in the fire. So after the vain word, it says folk, fire, and then it says 3286, Ya'af, which they put in English as weary, and it's really not such a bad translation as all. It could also mean flight, like to flee, or faint, course to fly, weary. It very likely could mean they'll flee away. Okay, it could mean weary. All right, so what do we know going back that I gave you the breakdown in the Hebrew? This is the broader long walls of Babel shall be, super broken up, and our high gates shall be burned with fire. So they throw Molotovs into the immigration offices on the border, the checkpoints, That's one explanation. The fires could come from Jehovah or somebody else. Basically, when you put these two things together, the whole border containment with a wall is finished, so people can rush into America from Mexico. Do you see that? Okay. So you're not just talking about drug cartel people. They're opening the door up for illegals from all over the world that want to come in through Mexico. Of course, the cartels may charge them money to pass, but, they want to come in. The gangbanger drug dealers might want to come in. How do they knock the wall down? Well, look, it's very easy. They don't use the kind of walls Israel does, which are like 25-foot high, big concrete blocks that are maybe 10, 12 inches at the top, but down in the last 5 or 6 feet or so, they're probably 30, 36 inches with massive amount of concrete. This is very dense, hard concrete with rebar and other measures, and they sink that into the ground, and they take pieces of rebar and connect each of these panels, which are probably 12 feet wide or something like that. They connect them maybe 15 or 20 feet even, I don't know. They can vary, connect them to the panel next to them with several pieces of rebar. So even if you come with a truck to knock them over, you're going to have a lot of trouble, because you've got to knock several of these pillars over at the same time. And these things must weigh tons. Trump's putting up metal fences, and I think if you just take a substantial truck, not an F-250, I mean a garbage truck or a big Peterbilt or something like that, and you put big bumpers on the thing and you ram it, you'll knock the fence over. You probably don't have to go more than 15, 20 miles an hour. Then you knock it over. And then people walk on it, drag it away. It's not hard to do. Now, what Trump plans, let me get the other two prophecies. Jeremiah 51:44. So we got to go back up a little bit. And I will punish Bel in Babylon. That's one of the demon things that was in the old Babylon. Probably the same unclean spirit representing itself as Bel is in America today. And I will bring forth out of his mouth that which he hath swallowed, and the nations, the Goyim, shall not flow together any more unto him. Yea, they flow together in the United Nations in New York, of course. The wall of Babylon shall fall. Okay, the word for fall is nafal. I think it maybe is better as thrown down, but let's see how Strong's puts it into English. Cast down, thrown down. Okay. So it's not just fall like the wind blew it or something. Well, that would count too, but it, cast down or thrown down, which makes me think that truck ramming is a good possibility, or tanks even. Otherwise, it could fall too with shoulder-fired rockets or artillery, other ways. Fall is fall. And then Jeremiah 51:12. Set up the standard upon the walls of Babel. Now, a standard, that word is nes. Something that you lift up. Well, it could be a sail, which I doubt nobody's going to sail the wall. You don't like put it on the ocean and sail it. Like flying a flag or a banner, something like that, I would say is the meaning of this. Set up the standard on the walls of Babylon. Now, who sets it up? America or Mexico or somebody else? Could be Palestinian flags or something. I don't know. Make the watch strong. Well, that's telling America making the watch strong, which is what they've done now with all the regular police, the ICE, and the military. The watch is already strong on the wall of Babylon. There are no other walls. There's no Atlantic Ocean wall. There's no Pacific wall. There's no Canada or America wall. Only Mexico. Make the watch strong. And that word is chaza. Yeah, strong means strong. Set up or energetic maybe, but strong is pretty good. No problem there. Set up the watchmen. Well, the military's there, the border police, ICE, they're all there. Those are your watchmen. Watching for people to come through. Prepare the ambushes. So let's break this word down. Arav, it's, hold up waiting for illegals to come in is the ambushes. You jump out from behind a hill or a building or something like that. You draw down on them and you tell them to put their hands up, So that stuff is happening also. They're ambushing is what they're doing. For Jehovah hath both devised and done that which he spake against the inhabitants of Babylon. Okay. So now we need to talk about the cartels. There is, I think, 3 big size cartels in Mexico and probably 5 or 6 little ones. The big ones are the problem, of course. They train their people by hiring ex-special forces, guys that did a tour or two in a special force unit of any country around the world. is very frequently hired by the cartels to train their cartel soldiers. They train them in how to protect their own facilities, where they make the drugs, store the money, protect the leaders, and they also teach them squad tactics in gunfights, how to storm a house or an estate with walls. They basically give them excellent training. Okay. Now, not every cartelera, or I think that means cartel member or something like that, and not every member of the cartel is going to get this training, but they give it to their senior people. They use these special forces people, and they have quite a few of them. They pay them handsomely, you know. They not only get, you know, a big salary, like in Mexico, they might give them 150 to 250,000 a year, but they have access to cartel women. They have access to cartel drugs, contraband. They have the privilege of running around saying they're the cartel, and police and government people leave them alone. They generally don't run these special forces guys on routine missions. They use them to train. Like, let's say they're going to move and plan, they're going to move 3,000 kilos of cocaine from point A to point B. Well, these special forces guys will go study the route, look for the trouble spots, and maybe leave some cartel people in these trouble spots to make sure they don't get ambushed there. And they'll plan, you know, what kind of trucks, what kind of backup, what kind of communications, what's this, what's that, plan A, plan B, plan C, and they'll execute a transfer. If they're going to attack a facility, maybe they're going to attack a bank and rob it, they'll plan it. If they're going to attack another gang at their headquarters or one of their hideouts, they'll plan it, and they might even lead it. But in terms of, you know, leading it, they're going to be like a full bird colonel in the American Army. He's going to hang behind the lines someplace with a tent or something and communications equipment and maps, and sit there and call the shots and execute the mission. He's not going to be shooting, nor is he going to be taking fire, okay, unless something goes very, very wrong. And that's how they use them. Now, if there's a very important situation, like they're moving, you know, $500 million of money in cash or something, they probably will have them take an active role in it, where they are the soldiers along with other soldiers. Then they would be paid handsomely. They might get $100,000 or $200,000 for 2 or 3 days worth of work or something, you know. And they also might plan an assassination and take place directly themselves. But this is very unusual. Normally they're planners and trainers, but they have a bunch of them. They get them from American Special Forces and probably in other 15 or 20 countries around the world. So they know a lot of tactics. Okay. So when we get into them storming the wall, you know, they'll send 2 or 3 of these special forces guys, depending on the cartel, to inspect the wall and have debates amongst themselves and come up with plan A, B, and C as to how to do it. And it'll be very, very effective. They're not clearing this through the government or Congress or worrying about the high courts, and they're just going to do it. They're also going to plan what happens when the wall is down. They're going to try to make provisions that it doesn't get built up very easily or at all. And what happens with the people that knock the wall down? Well, they may just go back into Mexico. Then nothing happens to them, most likely. And then other teams would go in. And that's why you'd need a lot more watchmen to set up ambushes for people coming through the wall that's knocked down. You got it? The cartels have a large number of people in the United States that came in under the Biden years, and probably Obama too, but Biden for sure. And they're involved in various criminal enterprises inside the United States. A big one would be narcotics. Another big one would likely be weapons. And then, depending on the cartel and the mood of that time period, they could get into gambling, prostitution, loan sharking, extortion, blackmail, kidnapping, robbery of major high cash facilities, and other things that they know how to do. Okay? There's many thousands of them in America. They're in many, many cities. I wouldn't be surprised if they're in 100, 150 cities. Or, they're not going to be in a city with a population of, 12 or 15,000. As long as there's other cities that have populations of 100,000 or more, or 200,000 or more, where they're going to turn more money. They're not going to turn a lot of money in a city with a population of 25,000 or 50,000, because how many of those people are going to actually use drugs? Now, when they go into a city, they fight with other drug gangs or threaten them, or in some way take over a piece of territory where they're going to sell their drugs. And that's where the grunts come in, okay? So these people are doing other things in America also, and they have plenty of weapons, and they get some training in the weapons. I don't think when they get trained, the regular soldiers, they take them out to the range with the pistol for 6 or 8 hours a day for 10 days in a row. It might be 2 or 3 days. They don't give them that kind of military training, the regular guys, they're good for shooting at distances of 10 feet, at a still target, So could they inflict damage in America? Yes. How? Well, they could start up with the other gangs, but why bother? They could align themselves with foreign agents, sleeper agents in America. It's questionable on which countries would allow that or want that. It's hard to say, but in a desperate time, they would hook up with them. But even if they don't, what could they do? Well, attack police. How? It's the easiest thing in the world. You see them riding around in a marked car. You pull up next to them in your car. Let's say the police car is to the left of, well, it'd be better if you get the police car to the right of you. So the guy in the right front passenger seat and the guy in the right rear seat each have a full auto AK-47 with 40 rounds. They pull up next to the car and they each drop a 40-round clip, which, let's assume they were in perfect synchronicity. It would take 3 to 4 seconds. That's it. 80 rounds go in the car. AK-47s go through basic police bulletproof, bullet resistance armor, like a hot knife through butter. 2,450 feet, usually 125 grain bullet, going at a distance of 6, 8, 10 feet, shred the car. There's no chance of survival for the two of them in the car. The one in the front would probably align himself with the driver, and that puts the one in the back a few feet back, so he doesn't have to shoot straight in. He has an angle to get the guy in the passenger side of the front seat. And I'm telling you, if you believe it or not, you can check it out. A 40-round clip is going to be 3 to 4 seconds. They hold it tight. They know how to do it. They've done it many times before. It's finished. Both of them are going to go simultaneously. There's not any survivability. They're not going to sit there and go boom, 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 and leave. They're not that kind of, shooters. Navy SEAL would have the skill set to do that. A lot of cops would have the skill set to do that. Okay? They don't play that way. Resistance would be futile for the cops. By the time they pulled their guns or got to their guns, they each would have had 3 or 4 or 5 rounds in them, and it would be finished. And you know how easy that is to do? It's so easy, it's not even funny. They wear a mask, and then when they get a few blocks away from there, they have another car that meets them. They drop that car off, burn it with gasoline, forget fingerprints and other things, or just leave the car there, get in another car, and they're gone. When they get in the other car, they're going to be discreet. They're not going to get out waving a gun with a mask on. The mask will be gone, the gun will be under the coat, and then they'll get into the other car and then quietly drive away. Maybe even change cars again, but probably don't have to. If they go 4 or 5 blocks away, they're there in 2 minutes, 3 minutes, and the police dispatcher is still going to be trying to sort out what happened, get another car over there, and he's going to say, oh, it's a Holocaust. It'll take them 10 minutes till they get any kind of understanding what happened, and probably another 10 minutes, 20 minutes till they get statements from bystanders as to what to look for. By that time, these guys could be sitting around popping a beer in some house or apartment, relaxing. They got away with it. But they'll do this all the time. Let's talk about a police station. They have RPGs, and they have shoulder-fired missiles. Okay? Police stations are not well defended. I mean, they're well defended against a street bomb or some insane person with a rifle, but, against people like a cartel or a military, they're not defended. The big antenna, the tower that the police use, is for their communications with their patrol cars, right? Okay. RPG, take that down, knock it over in a heartbeat. Now all their comms is down, so the cops use their cell phones to call the station. Well, how many people at the station are going to be able, they'll be able to talk to a few cops at a time. They're going to probably maybe have the sergeant's phone number, and he can only handle 1 call at a time, and 2, maybe put 1 on hold. But the police are going to be relatively confused. You understand this? Okay, next comes the building. Put a few RPGs in the building. Now they have no headquarters, plus a lot of them are dead. Now what about the police cars in the parking lot? They usually have a fenced, secure parking lot for the patrol cars. Again, you spray them with a lot of bullets, or shoot RPGs, or put improvised explosive devices in there. They got gas tanks, they'll start burning. You'll get rid of most of their cars. So this whole thing could happen in 2 to 3 minutes, less even, maybe less. Several cars come with different weapons. They each got the target. They put 2 or 3 or 4 RPGs in the building. They put 1 to knock the tower down, 2 if they don't get it good. Then they go to work on the parking lot. They drive away and they cripple that city's or police department or sheriff's office drastically. They've drastically crippled it. Okay? In 2 or 3 minutes. Could they do that to the feds? Absolutely, same thing. No problem. No problem. They go up to a border patrol checkpoint inside America, 4 or 5, 6 cars of them with AK-47s, drop 400 or 500 rounds on the checkpoint, drive away. Most, if not all, will be dead. It'll be wrecked. They don't want to do that, just shoot a few RPGs at it. Their idea is to kill a lot of cops and disable their operations. Okay? When they encounter the soldiers, that's another problem. The soldiers will have a relatively much more hardened posture, like they'll have armored personnel carriers, tanks, Bearcats, and other things, armored vehicles that are not going to be easily taken out with RPGs and stuff like that. They will be relatively easy to damage and put out of action, but to kill the guys, it's somewhat more difficult, not easily done, but it's definitely doable. Let me check the live stream for a minute here. The tower that the police use is for, I think the way they would start would be ambushing police in the street. It's so easy to do it. They ride up behind a guy in a highway patrol car or a sheriff or a cop on a parkway or a freeway moving at speed 35 to 60, 70 miles an hour. 2 shooters, one hangs out of the left rear door, one hangs out of the front and the right, and they just drop a clip of AK-47s in the patrol car while it's driving. They could use an RPG. You wipe them out. The idea is they'll hit several cop cars, and that would be their idea of encouraging the cops to leave them alone. Now, they're not going to worry about going to the border and engaging the military. Why? They're going to lose. They're not that stupid. The military would be inside army vehicles with machine guns they could control safely, mowing them down. They don't want that. So they go into the cities and they start destroying. Are they going to destroy the civilians? No, that's not like their MO. They want the civilians because the civilians buy prostitution, drugs, weapons illegally from them, and other things. So they don't want the civilians hating them. They want the cops afraid to bother them anymore. And along with this could likely come robberies of facilities that have a lot of cash. Banks don't usually bring a lot of cash. Going into a big supermarket with 8 open cash registers when it's busy, it's going to get you more cash than the bank. But you could still hit banks, and you could still hit supermarkets. And the supermarkets collect the money every so often during the day and then drop it into a safe that has a time lock on it. It's very sticky to deal with that. But it doesn't take them very long to go into a supermarket and a team and empty the cash registers and then get out. That's going to be maybe 5 minutes max. And they'll get a few $1,000s in each cash register, so they might get out with 25, 30, 40,000. That's good money for the troops. Keeps them in tequila, drugs, fancy clothes, You know, they got pocket money, they can go to the bars, you know, there's this type of money, right? And it creates terror in America. Um, they could hit um, drug distribution outlets where they can capture large amounts of things like oxycodone, you know, like 100,000 pills, stuff like that. Um, there's other businesses that have large amounts of cash they could hit. They could also go for jewelry stores and steal jewelry. And they'll go amok. They'll go amok. And the idea is to keep the police afraid of them. Now, the first response for the police is going to be they don't fear us anymore. We got to kill some of theirs. And to be honest with you, the police going across the whole country, at least 80-90% of them don't have the stomach for this today. They don't. Every police department has a small amount of ninjas, let's call them. People that really enjoy a good fight, a good physical altercation or a gunfight or a car chase. But the others, you know, they got families and a life, and they're there for the high pay and the respect and the benefits. And they like to go out. I mean, I was in law enforcement when I was young. I'm telling you, today, most of them want to go out and pick on people that are easy marks for the cops. Not to shake them down, but, when they do traffic, they see a car with five obvious gangbangers with another car with five obvious gangbangers follow them. You think and it's 2 o'clock in the morning in the dark, and you think they want to pull them over? How long is backup going to get there? And if there's 10 of these idiots, how many people do you need for backup to handle 10? 4 is not going to be too good. 6, yeah, now you're getting there. But the dispatch isn't going to send you 6. 2 more. Well, you'd be 2 if you have a 2-man car, and then 2 more cars. They're not going to do that. They might send 1 car. Well, let's say you're on a 1-man car. You're going to go pull them over. You walk up to the car, you get a 12 gauge in your face and blows your head off. You think they do this? You think cops are that way? Oh, I got to stop these guys. They're suspicious. If I get killed, well, what the heck? My wife and 3 kids got my insurance policy. They'll get $250,000. How long will that last? 3 years, 4 years, He's gonna not want to take them over himself. Don't think that you got ninjas in the police department. They're far and few between. Number one, they don't like hiring ninjas. They need a few ninjas. Usually they wind up in SWAT. They don't, a lot of these people take these jobs for political reasons. They hate straight people. They're out there, people like that, okay? People join Forest Service and things like that, wildlife services, because they hate hunters and they hate people that start campfires in the woods and risk burning a forest down. They're tree huggers supreme, and they take these jobs to punish people that, in their mind, don't use the woods accordingly. Don't think that this is. A lot of people take these jobs because it's their image. They want to present an image, oh, I'm a tough person, I'm a tough guy, I'm a tough woman. The department's so screwed up. They've been that way probably 40 years at least. The old days, the 60s and 70s, what were the cops like? Depends where. In the New York City, for instance, they were really corrupt, but they tried to protect the regular people. they wouldn't allow burglaries if they could stop it, or armed robberies they'd get very aggressive about. They knew they had to preserve the people. And they were corrupt. They were shaking people down for traffic. They were getting money, corruption money from shop owners to allow double parking, and they were doing all kinds of bad stuff, right? Uh, the guys would close their stores, bars, restaurants, late night markets, and what they would do is they would take their cash, which was predominantly, back then you probably had 95% of your sales were cash. They had to go to the bank, where the bank had a drop box, so which was a safe. So the way it worked is you had a big envelope like this that you could put a lock on. It was a very heavy envelope, very thick. And you would put your cash receipts in there with a deposit slip, and you had a lock on it. So the clerks could not open it in the bank unless two of them were present, and they both counted it together. The system worked. And they would go to this drop, and from the street in front of the bank, they would drop the envelope in there, and it would go through, it's got spikes on it, kind of, it was probably like a 15 or 30-minute safe, and it was put up against the front wall of the bank, and they had some sort of an alarm on it, and this would rarely be stolen. I mean, you were asking for trouble, because as soon as you started disturbing the safe, you had alarms go off, and now the police would get an alarm that the bank's being robbed, and they send 4 cars over there real quick, and but they wouldn't let the crooks get over on the people. They wanted the people to be able to walk around at night, and it was that way. Old people would go to the store 10, 11 o'clock at night and buy some milk or cheese and come back home. It was safe. People's cars were rarely broken into. Houses were not frequently burgled. People weren't getting raped or mugged or ripped off or purse snatched or carjacked. Was unheard of. There were no carjackings. Stores would rarely get robbed. So the store owner would have to pay. He'd give the cop, I don't know, $5 or $10 to walk with him. The beat cop, they were on foot then, would go to the delicatessen, let's say at 10 o'clock. He'd meet the guy, and the cop would walk with him to the bank drop box, and he'd throw the money in. The alternative would be to put a safe in the store and put the money there. I'm sure some businesses did do that, and others didn't like that. You could get a secure safe, but they could come in and put a gun to your head and make you open the safe. So I don't know, it was different. So they would get money for that, But in a lot of other areas, the cops were heavy constitutional, and they were very harsh on the criminals. But they were very supportive of the general population. And they tried to give the working man, the family, a break. They weren't out there trying to persecute them for driving like they do today, If somebody was driving like a jackass, the first response would be to pull them over and give them a chewing out and then let them go. And then the other thing they used to do is if you had an equipment failure, like a blinker or a taillight or something like that, they'd give you what's called a fix-it ticket, where you had to go to a mechanic and say it was fixed, and he'd sign off, or you could do it yourself. So that was just a little, shaking up. But, if the speed limit was 70 and you were going 95, yeah, they'd probably give you a ticket because you were behaving in a way that would endanger other people. But if the limit was 70 and you were going 78, they'd say slow it down, And sometimes they'd pull up next to you and just go like that, slow down, They didn't, or they'd get behind you and they'd follow you for maybe 2 minutes or something like that, 3 minutes to rattle you up and then just pull away, knowing you got the message to slow down. Um, they weren't, they weren't out to, you know, persecute you. They weren't looking for a gun in the glove box. In a lot of states that was legal. But today they're out looking to put people in jail, but they're putting the wrong people in jail. They're afraid of the real terrorists, the real criminals. They don't want encounters with them. That's why you see them shoot crazy people. You see them shoot destitute people. They don't go on and start encountering the cartels. They're afraid, and the cartels will kill them. So that's what the cartels are going to do, and we see this in America where it tells us the bullocks get killed. The bullock is the bull, and that's not the military, because it refers to the military, like the hosts. The word for military, the bullock would be the police agencies. The cartels will kill federal agents hands down. They don't care. They're not going to start with the military with armored vehicles, helicopters, drones, heavy equipment, really good body armor that's going to stop their AK-47s. They're not. They'll avoid them. But the military's at the border. They're not in the cities. They're not riding patrol in the cities. They're going to try to take the cities back by killing the cops. They're not going to threaten the cops. They don't work that way. They're going to kill them. Then the threat comes out. Now, the cops, let's say you take a city that has a population of 700,000. They got a police department, I don't know, 1,800, let's say, something like that. I'm just guessing, right? By the time they attack 3 patrol cars and kill the cops, the whole police department is going to be scared to death. Now, some of these Weisenheimers in the police department may try to go out and kill these guys, but the department will bring them up on the flagpole if they murder them. Basically, the police department is absolutely not set up to deal with it. Okay? And after they get a couple of patrol cars busted up, the idea is leave us alone. Leave the cartels alone. Let us sell drugs. Let us do prostitution. Let us sell guns. Let us do our thing and leave us alone, or we'll kill you. That's it. If a judge convicts cartel members, they'll kill the judge. But what will happen fast is they'll start killing the cops. They're good. These people didn't get to be cartels and take over the Mexican government for decades because they're complete nincompoops, okay? They'll make their message clear, leave us alone. Now, Trump could try to apply the FBI, but they're not set up for this. The FBI are not police people. They're kind of half detective, half intelligence agent. They're not police. They're not set up for it. Yeah, they could conduct a raid. Yeah, but that's not going to do any good. You conduct a raid and you get them, and then they'll revenge against you and attack your FBI headquarters. People don't understand what the drug cartels are like. You see, the Hamas type people are saying, we don't care if we get killed because we go to heaven and we get our 70 virgins. These people care if they get killed. They don't want to get killed. And they're vicious because they're trying to create fear. And they will engage. Look, they'll kill the mayor. If the city police bother them, They'll go after the mayor. They may not kill the mayor. They may go to the mayor's house and fire RPGs into the house with the wife and kids there and kill them. They could kidnap people too. They'd have no trouble going after the sheriff or the police chief or the head of the state police. There's any problem with that. Okay. The police cannot win. I'm telling you, the chances of the police winning against the cartels in America, flat zero. Not a chance because of the way the police is set up. They can't. They can't make it. Look at the military when they go into places like Kabul, Afghanistan, Iran, Iraq, well, not Iran, a lot of these crazy countries, how these terrorists kill them. Well, that's what it would be like for the police, except 20 times worse because the terrorists are not trained. Some are, some aren't, but the military can fight much better than the police. And much harder to attack. And police just fold. They don't even need to use vehicles. They just take two guys with pistols, right? 9mm with a 15-round clip. They just walk around the neighborhood and they see two cops stopped in a patrol car. Boom, 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 boom. It's over. Now, sometimes that won't work because some of the police departments use bulletproof glass in some of the windows of the car, usually the side windows and the front seat only. The windshield is very, very expensive to get bulletproof glass for. I've done it in the old days. It's very costly and it puts a lot of weight in the car. And the side windows, they probably give them protection up to 44 Magnum. They don't give them rifle protection. They give them protection against any commonly encountered pistol and shotguns. Okay, which is going to work, in a city environment, probably 95% of the time. It's going to work. And sometimes they'll put Kevlar in the driver's door and the right side of the front, so the passenger on the right side will have, the other cop will have bulletproof glass on his side and have Kevlar in the door to stop bullets, and the driver will. Shooting at him through the rear, the cops are on their own. They're probably not going to have anything. Sometimes they'll have a thin piece of metal behind the back seat for the screen to stop prisoners from choking them or something, or harming them. So the bullet has to go through the trunk and then the back seat, and then but they don't. Their main fear is somebody walking up to the side of the car and shooting them. It also allows the cop to open the front door and use it as a barrier to engage in a gunfight with some criminal. Okay. But you see, criminals are usually desperados. They're desperate. I need a fix. I got to rob somebody. I got to rob a store. I got to do this. I got to do that. All right. A terrorist that has an ex-special forces guy planning these hits, and they're cold, calculated killers, well-armed, well-stocked with equipment, communications, intel, a team to get them out of the area. That's a horse of another color. The police cannot deal with that. And what you'll see is the police quit. They'll start phoning in sick. They'll start taking leave, hoping this blows over. And push comes to shove. If they got to go out on the street and their lives are in danger, they'll quit. These are people that want to pick on people that have no chance of really hurting them. Look how they operate. They want to raid a house for, let's say, drugs, right? So there's 4 or 5 jackasses in the house. They got drugs laying around, all kinds of pistols, rifles, shotguns, knives, liquor, loud stereo, their girlfriends, and they get wind that there's a lot of money and a lot of drugs in this house. Let's go shut it down. So there's 4 or 5 guys in the house. Do you think the cops are going to come with 20 cops? I don't think so. I think it would be more. I think they'd have 8 or 10 SWAT, which would have body armor and rifles with optical scopes, snipers, and then perhaps 20 cops on top of the SWAT, and they would for sure have 1 or 2 helicopters in the air. And they would cordon off the streets. They would go to the people in the nearby houses and in the line of sight of a gunfight, and they would evacuate the houses, okay? And they might not even have 20. They might bring 30 or 40 cops. They want only overwhelming odds, and they want to close off any place of escape. Then they'll cut their power, they'll cut their water, they'll disconnect phones or internet, or they give them no communication. Okay? Then they start giving them tear gas if they don't come out, right? Or some other chemical agent. And they wait for them to come out. Now, they go and hit a house with 4, 5, or 6 terrorists in there. What are they going to get? Well, they may find these people have gas masks because they've been well trained, so they can start shooting the tear gas in there and it's to no effect. And then they might find these people have RPGs and shoulder-fired missiles, and they start shooting at them, blowing up their cars, and injuring and killing some of them. What is the response of the police? Withdrawal. They'll fall back out of the line of sight and try to cordon off the area, and then try to get more forces. They won't know what to do, basically. They'll call the army, they'll call the FBI. Somehow it'll wind up the army will call the FBI, and they'll probably get them. But if the guys are good, they'll start shooting up the cops really badly, and then getting in their own vehicles and making an escape, getting on their comms, getting other people to meet them, switch vehicles, and then they're out of it. Go to another safe location. So, the helicopters might see them. It's a problem. But they're not going to go lightly. They're going to ask for instructions with wireless equipment that can't be blocked. And the instructions might be surrender, we'll get you out somehow, or kill as many of them as you can and try to get away. We can't help you. And that could be it too. Also, if everything's breaking out, they'll bring reinforcements to kill the cops. Basically, the cops are not going to want to do this to the terrorists because they're going to lose people. And the guys running the terrorist organizations know the way to deter the cops from doing this is to kill several every time they try it. That means when they want to do it again, they're going to have to get armored vehicles, a large number of cops, really good body armor, SWAT. It makes it very difficult, and they can't do it that many times. They don't have the resources. These guys know all of this. It's unbelievable. The American police really, in my opinion, don't know what they're up against. And when they find out, they'll quit. Or they'll go try to find another department that doesn't have the problem. If you could find something like that, good luck, you won't. So Trump is stirring up a hornet's nest here with going after the cartels. It's not so simple. The border's been open. There's thousands and thousands of them in the United States. They have to do what the cartel tells them to do under penalty of death for themselves and their families in Mexico and in the U.S. And they will do it. and they get paid very, very well. I would think the low-level cartel members are probably clocking 150 to 4 or 500,000, depending on what they do a year. And they got benefits that are important to them, and they got a sense of unity, protection. They're in a gang. They got prestige. They can impress themselves with the women that are misdirected in that direction. So it may not be as bad as I'm saying, but they are going to unleash on America a lot of garbage. And the other problem is if any of these foreign terrorist members in the U.S. hook up with them, it'll get worse. North Korea agents would hook up with them. He doesn't care. China, maybe not so quick. Iran and other terrorists like Hezbollah and Hamas and Al Qaeda and ISIS, they have people there. They may hook up with them too. Russian, I don't. Maybe, I don't know. It's not hard to topple police departments. Okay, the first thing you do is take their communication towers down. Now they're about 65% worthless. That's all you got to do. Want to take it further? Attack their vehicles when they're in the parking lot and out on the street and start shredding their vehicles. They got no comms, they got no vehicles, you got no police department. How long does it take to put a new tower up? I don't know, maybe 2-3 weeks, a month, or maybe more. I don't know. How long does it take to get new cars? Where are they going to get the money? They self-insure those things usually. What if the terrorists start breaking people out of prisons? That is a difficult task. That is not easy. That would require a large amount of actual special forces trained guys there on the scene conducting it. You'd probably have to have at least 2 or 3 of the guys that really know what they're doing with hostage rescue and stuff like that to storm a prison. You'd have to put people inside the prison to try to overtake some of the guards and then come in, because you want to make sure they don't lock you out. There's a lot of guards there. They got weapons. They got comms. They could get help. They could do lockdowns. It's very, very difficult, but it can be done. It's done in other countries. It can be done. Okay. Why they would want to do it is a good question. Get the people out. They could also, there's an easier way to do it. Okay. Take police hostages, take judges hostages, take mayors hostages, governors. Governors really a hard target. A mayor usually is a very soft target. He has 1 or 2 bodyguards usually, or if that, sometimes nothing. And then you say, your life for the prisoner release. And what they do in other countries is they amputate fingers on video of the victim. And I've seen these type of videos where they cut fingers off and they send it and they say, every day you wait, there's another finger, They can cut other body parts off too. Ears, and, they're pretty brutal. When they capture rival gang members or people that turned against the gang, what they normally do is put them naked on their knees around them, and these people beg them for mercy. And mercy is, they don't put them in a 50-gallon barrel with fuel and burn them alive. Mercy is they just shoot them. That's what they beg for. The cops in America don't understand what's about to happen to them if I see this right, and I think I do. And once the walls come down, the cartels, you may see 5 to 10,000 of them come into America. And they'll hit homeowners in, Texas and Arizona. And what will happen? The homeowners will shoot at them. Will they kill them? Yeah. What will happen ultimately? The homeowners die, the house gets burned, they get raped, tortured, whatever. But yeah, they'll shoot them. And they'll kill some. So what? They won't kill many. And it's going to be hard for them. They don't have safe room bomb shelters like we do in Israel. What are they going to do? Shoot out the window? The walls aren't bulletproof. They'll just spray them with AK. You're going to hit a house with 3 or 4 people in the house that know how to shoot, and they got plenty of guns and ammos, and they'll open up on these guys, and they may kill 1 or 2 here and there, but generally it's not going to happen. These guys will try to burn those people out of their house, is most likely what they'll do, which is not in their best interest because they want to loot the house, take the weapons, the money, maybe doctor prescribed pain meds and things like that, the alcohol, clothing, whatever looks good to them, cars. But when they kill some of the cartel members and these guys burn them out, which they will, then they have a choice of staying in the house and burning to death or coming out with their hands up, in which case comes the torture and the rape because they killed these guys. People don't understand what's going to happen. And it looks like it's showtime. And I'm not so sure Trump really knows what's going to happen. Some of the FBI and the DEA and ICE and Homeland Security, they know what will happen. But Trump is basically calling the shots, and he's at war with the cartels, and the cartels will be at war with him. And the Mexican government is run by the cartels, and they'll act like they're doing something. They'll make a show like putting 10,000 soldiers on the border, which they've already done, that do nothing, which is, I believe, the case. And that's not going to work. And then Trump will start running ops in Mexico, bringing special forces in at night to hit a facility, or they'll suicide drone attack it or some other missile and try to kill only the cartel members. And all that's going to do is get us to where I told you it would go. And the chances of Trump doing this are probably 100%. So, and it'll work. He'll do targeted assassinations of some of them, and they'll get even with them in America, and they'll knock the wall down, and they'll open the border up to anybody who wants to go in from any South Central American country. They probably have tunnels America hasn't destroyed, and that's the general scenario. So I think this is about to go down. I don't know Trump's time clock on when he's going to be using special forces, but he is flying various covert type American military aircraft over Mexico already. So that means he's accumulating intel. And it probably means there's special forces, boots on the ground in there already, possibly without the knowledge of the Mexican government. And maybe with their knowledge, I don't know. And they're probably getting ready to start making moves. That's what it looks like from here. Trump has beefed up the border already with a lot of military. There's talk of more military coming. There's been reconnaissance, intelligence flights in Mexico. And He's building the wall where it wasn't built before, and he's rounding up illegals in America as fast as he can. Considering he's never going to finish in the end of 4 years because there's so many, he's probably trying to get high profile ones or whatever he could. Maybe he's going after the low hanging fruit in the sanctuary cities to show them they better cut it out. I don't know. But is he getting the sleeper agents? I doubt he's getting more than 1% of them. He's not getting them. They're not easily got. They're not hiding in sanctuary cities like regular illegals. You know, they're in good locations that they're pretty secure. And Trump may be afraid to go to war against various countries right now because he does not feel he has neutralized the threat of the sleeper agents in America, which would take many years. So that might be one of the reasons that's scaring him. He deploys the military out of America, then they start taking over the American bases, and the country falls. So what does he do? He threatens people, other countries, and does nothing. But that method is starting to fall apart. Sanctions, yeah, that he can do. But that's about all we ever see him actually undertake. We don't see him really deliver any military force, economic force, yeah, political force, but not military. He might be very, very much afraid of the sleeper agents. And to back that up, I say another reason I think he's very afraid of sleeper agents is since he got inaugurated, I haven't seen him talk about the sleeper agents once. Have you? No. Because he's scared of them. He's not scared that they're going to do something to him if he talks about them. He doesn't want to create fear with the Americans. And I think he's very much afraid. So that's why he's probably saying, you know, if Iran doesn't cut the nuke stuff out, Israel will bomb them. So he's hoping that the sleeper agents leave him alone because Israel did it. But everybody knows he's enabling Israel with weapons and other things. So I don't know how far that'll fly. I would say beyond the shadow of a doubt, China, North Korea, Iran, Russia, Hamas, Hezbollah, Al-Qaeda, ISIS, and other lunatic idiot groups of the Houthis have agents in America. If you collectively put them together, it's a huge number. And China has land, 350,000 acres on the high side, that's adjacent to American military bases that they can attack. And then ask yourself, we had all these drones popping up, that went away since Trump came into office. And now we got aircraft crashing in various places. The last one was Toronto, Canada. They're having runway crashes and other crashes. What's up with that? And we had an American aircraft carrier hit a merchant marine vessel in the Red Sea by Egypt. That's not an ordinary occurrence. So is somebody using some sort of weapons against guidance systems or something? Maybe, but why would, there's been at least 2 incidences, if not 3, where planes are having collisions on the ground. But when planes are on the ground, they don't use their radar. The pilots sit there and look to see what's going on. They don't go by radar when they're taxiing, getting ready to, you know, unload the plane. So what's up with this? What is this all about? It's weird, isn't it? Yeah, something's up. Why would taxiing planes have accidents? Doesn't make sense. I don't know what's up. So I think we will know, and we will find out in the coming days, maybe a week or two or three. Like I said, if we see another three or so of these crashes, you're going to begin to see a drop in people willing to fly. And if they keep happening every week at the rate of two or three, well, you probably see half the people not flying. And that'll start killing the airlines because they're going to be half empty. They're going to start losing money. It can be a real crisis. And who the heck knows how you stop this? I don't know. I don't even know what it is. But it doesn't look like it's just something that's happening. It looks something that's crazy. So remember, all eyes on Israel, because what's going to really usher in the big Bible prophecies is what's going on in Israel, not Ukraine or Russia or Taiwan or Japan or South Korea or England. It's going to be Israel. Okay, that's what it is. Isaiah 34:8. I'll read it to you. Okay. Some of you know this, some of you never heard it before, but it really is in your Bible. I'm not making it up. Isaiah 34:8. For it is the day of the Lord's vengeance and the year of recompenses for the controversy of Zion, which is Israel. And that's it. People are fighting God about Israel getting the land and redemption and all of that. I also want to tell you that with the two witnesses in Malachi 3, let me take a break. I'll come back and go through this with you. I've been thinking this through. Here. All right. A lot of the people won't know what I'm talking about, but a lot of you do. Malachi, I'm just going to go through this quick because it's easy to do. Malachi 3, verse 1. Behold, I will send my Malach messenger, that's Elijah, I believe, and he shall prepare the way before me, and the Adonai whom you seek shall suddenly come to his temple, even the messenger of the covenant back to Elijah, whom you delight in. Behold, he shall come, saith Jehovah. Okay, so we may not see peace before the two witnesses emerge openly. They may just show up in Zechariah 12, which we'll go through now real quick. And the burden of the word of the Lord. Behold, I will make Jerusalem a cup of trembling unto all the people round about when they shall be in the siege, both against Judah and against Jerusalem. That siege is really now. You got Lebanon, you got Gaza, you got the Houthis in a way. You've got Syria, which I'm sure will join in, Iraq, ditto, Iran, and Turkey's going to be operating in Egypt. All right. A lot of the people won't know what I'm talking about, but a lot of you do. All right. So it appears that there's a lot of believers in Jerusalem mentioning the two witnesses, which are the judges, not the governors. So it could go either way with that. Likely this happens before that there's a lot of believers in Jerusalem. And then it says, in that day will I make the judges of Judah like an earth of fire, and like the earth of fire among the wood, and like a torch of fire in a sheaf, and they shall devour. It's better translated, burn up. All the people round about on the right hand and on the left, and Jerusalem shall remain still inhabited, still in her own place in Jerusalem. So it could be that they do come before, or Elijah anyway, and trains the Levites, which would be in Jerusalem, and there might even be a temple there. But we've covered that, but what it also might be is things just go like they are now, and then when the nations lay the full siege around us, God just contacts the two witnesses and say, hey guys, it's time. And they probably just show up in Jerusalem and send the fire out of their mouth and burn up all the enemies surrounding the whole Israel that we have today, which is called Judah and Jerusalem. And then it'd be rather easy for them to take control. Then the temple comes down because we don't have any enemies that are going to, be shooting missiles or rockets with the temple there. And then he starts training the Levites. That could be it too. So we might just see them pop up as a surprise. There might not be any warning, although it could also be there is a warning. I don't know yet. I mean, I'm thinking about it both ways. So pray we get it right. I'm not sure if it's one way or the other yet. So pray that we get it right. This is not a major change in doctrine. This is a fine-tuning of the sequencing of events, what happens first. We know the events are going to happen, but which one comes first? What's the sequence? That's what we're trying to establish. And pray that the Lord give it to us. I could go either way right now, so I'm missing something. It shouldn't be I could go either way. I should know what it is. I have to find it out. I'll search it too on my own. So pray we get that. Pray for me and my wife Rivka for our peace, safety, protection, and joy and healing. And pray for our finances. Pray for our animals and pets to be happy, healthy, and whole. They're all rescues. And pray for better videos. And pray for the other real believers around the world. Pray for the two witnesses. And pray God marches forward with end times and gets these Satan bots out of the world. And pray for the peace of Jerusalem. And shalom to all those who love Yeshua HaMashiach. Oh, and I still didn't get that document that was sent to me in the mail, so you keep praying for that. But my wife says to calm down, it could take a long time, so I calmed down. But please pray I get that soon. And basically, that's what I got. I hope you got something out of this, and you should be rather concerned about the cartels because that could be the start of the sleeper agents or something. See, it's not the same as the sleeper agents. I doubt the cartels would try to storm the military bases themselves. I highly, highly, highly doubt they would do that. But they would be punishing towards the police and things like that. So that's what I got. Thank you. I hope you got something out of this too.